Hi, it's Pastor Paul L. Anderson here at the Fountain of Raleigh Fellowship, where we believe God's blessings never stop flowing. You know, it's Worshipful Wednesday. I always try to remind myself and remind you, you're right in the middle of the week. You ought to be at the peak of your praise. Throw up your hands in the air and tell the Lord, Lord, I praise you. I thank you for the wonderful things you keep on doing in your life. You know, today I want to take a moment to praise God for the wonderful blessing that He has given to all of us in our family. I want to say happy 53rd wedding anniversary to my brother-in-law Bob and my sister Ethel. 53 years of marriage. I was just a child when the two of you got married, and I thank God for the example you have led for us all. Today, I want to invite you all to join me as we look at Mark's Gospel, the 8th chapter, verses 14 through 21. It's a very powerful passage because he begins to let us see how God is doing great and wonderful things through and by Jesus' interaction with people. We find out in verse 14, the disciples had forgotten to bring food, and they only had one loaf of bread in their boat. And as they were crossing the lake, Jesus tells them to watch out for the yeast of the Pharisees. It is amazing how Jesus would take a very simple, a very mundane thing that they are always able to see in life, and he gives it a spiritual application. He tells them, since you have bread, I want to tell you to watch out and beware of the yeast of the Pharisees. When they began crossing the lake, Jesus started talking about watching out for the yeast of the Pharisees. And they're going like, where are you coming from? Why are you saying this? He begins to remind them, why are you arguing about having no bread? And you don't even understand what you have in your hands. Are your hearts too hard to take it in? Your eyes can see. You have ears, but you can't hear. And you don't understand what's happening. When I fed the 5,000 with the loaves of bread, how many baskets did we have left over afterwards? They respond 12. Then he tells them, when I fed the 4,000, how many large baskets did you pick up afterwards? They said 7. He said, you still don't understand. You know, Jesus begins to remind them that you have to beware of the yeast of the Pharisees. He talks about them because they argue about things, and you are becoming like them if you're not careful. You know, too oftentimes we as believers, we see the great work of God, and Jesus is using this miracle to remind us of something else. Well, the yeast of the Pharisees was clearly talking about how they inflate things and how they make things to be bigger and to rise up to be higher than what is most important. You know, too oftentimes you and I, we talk about the quote unquote, the minor things, and we make them the major influences in our lives. But Jesus wants us to focus on what is really important. He tells them, look at what I did with that bread. Look at what I caused to have happen simply because I put it not only in my hands, but in the hands of the Father. I think you and I can learn from this. When we put things in the hand of the Father, He'll multiply it. He'll use us to be instruments of distribution, and then we can collect and help others know that there is still more for you. We have to learn to understand, but too often times we don't seek understanding. We cause confusion. Jesus is reminding these disciples, don't be confused, but clearly know who I am and the work that I'm trying to do for you and the rest of the world. May God bless you. May heaven smile upon you. Take the Lord with you everywhere you go, and you'll always be in the right place.
To sow a seed to the Fountain of Raleigh Fellowship, visit our newly redesigned website, thefountainofraleigh.org, and select Sow a Seed from the homepage. Also, giving has been made easier with the new Fountain of Raleigh app, available now in the Apple App Store and Google Play Store. Download today, select Giving from the main menu, and then follow the directions to complete your giving through Subsplash.
Thank you so very much for all of your gifts and donations that you've given to the Fountain of Raleigh Fellowship. We thank you for what you've done in the past, what you're currently doing, and what you will do in the future. Your gifts and donations helps us to spread the gospel of Jesus Christ, not only locally, but throughout the world. Thank you again for your gifts, and may God continue to richly bless you. It is here at the Fountain that we believe that we are exceedingly and abundantly blessed, and may you receive those blessings that God has in store for you.